I just realised something. I haven't shown you anything about writing automation with the BCF. Okay, so I better do that. Look, the bottom line is this: the BCF is superb. I mean, for the money, it is so unbeatable as a hardware controller. And by that I mean, when you're creating your song composition and getting your mix together, you can adjust the faders using these and not the mouse. You can do the pans, you can do the sends and the EQ. You've got lovely hardware control for everything, including setting up the sounds for your synths and everything like that. But when it comes to writing automation data, oh, it's a real pig, to be honest. And that's not the fault of the BCF. That's Logic, because Logic's automation is so crap and so out of date. It just beggars belief. I mean, they've updated everything in Logic except for the blasted automation. So they really need to get their fingers out, Apple. But the bottom line is this: you take something like Cubase, you go back to SX2 like 6 years ago, whenever it was. I mean, you can, like with the automation, you can define the quantize for the automation, like the snap. You can have your automation snap to like 16ths or 8ths or quarter notes or anything you like, or lower resolutions or much higher resolutions. You can make your automation into perfect sine sweeps or triangle sweeps or even square wave sweeps to do gate on off effects, and those sweeps can be exactly fitted to the resolution of quarter notes or 8ths or 16ths or whatever you like. Logic by comparison is positively primitive, okay, and they really need to get this sorted. But so, you know, these things are so cheap, and two of them together you get 16 channels of brilliant automation, one on its own brilliant again, 3 even better, whatever, 4 even better still. You just, I say, you know, well, let me show you. Right, but trust me, writing automation data is a real nightmare. So look, I've changed a few things on here. Let's look at this. I've got a pattern here which I'm going to show you when I show you controlling a synth and writing some parameters for a synth. But let's go to this audio track, and we'll put it into Z with the Z key, which is auto track zoom, to make it deeper. A key to put track automation on. All right. Now, something you need to see first in the main Logic Pro menu, preferences. This is what you want, the automation here, and this box pops up here. Okay, now what you want to do is look. First of all, write mode changes to touch. If it isn't set to that, I'd set it to that. That's what Logic will flip into after you've done some writing with the automation set to write mode. Okay. Now the other thing is, it will only write automation by default for plugins, not for any of these other things. So if you want to write any of these other types of automation, they need to be ticked. So I'll tick volume, and remember this write mode changes to touch. Everything else, leave it. Okay. Is there anything else there? What about the control surface tab? Well, that's how it should be, 128, 50, and these things ticked as they are. Okay. Now I've ticked volume, so I can write that now. Okay, just drag that out of the way. So if we put this track into write, either by dropping the list here and choosing write, or where is it there, the list here, or from the front panel of the BCF using this lower shift and the 4 mode buttons. Remember, that's read and off, that's write, latch, touch, right, latch, touch. So I'll choose write. So what writing does, it just writes. When you let go, wherever you let go of the fader, it will, as the playhead moves forward, from that point where you let go of the fader, it just write a straight line like this. Don't need to hit record, just hit play. So I'll write a fade down and a fade up and a fade down, let go, and it will write from that position. Okay. Now the fader has been stopped, or rather the play was stopped, and because the preferences are set to write mode changes to touch, it's jumped into touch mode here, right? See, touch. Now touch is another way of writing, as is latch. The difference between touch and latch is that in touch it reads unless you touch the fader, so it reads, right? But if I go to move the fader, I'm writing, but when I let go, it resumes reading. Alright, I'll undo that. If you put it in latch when you let go of the fader, it will overwrite anything as the playhead forwards at wherever you left the position of the controller when you let go and finish moving it, like this. Down, up, let go, and it will write from that position now, just overwrite everything else. See? So that's latch. Therefore, touch is your best bet. Yeah, and I tend to just work in touch all the time. So now I'll show you another problem. Another problem with it is it's virtually impossible to get control of the fader when it's reading this automation data. So if you want to overwrite a bit of this automation data to change it, watch. It's reading now, and I'm trying to get control of that fader, but I cannot. And it's the same if I put it into latch. Watch, once it starts reading those nodes, those yellow dots, I try and get control, and I can't get control of the bloody fader. That's another problem. Getting control of the fader when it starts reading in touch or latch mode is virtually impossible. So I'll put it back to touch, which is the preferred automation mode, right? The bottom line is, like, say this curve going down here. If I wanted to make this curve go further down and then back up to here, I need to move the playhead to this position, right? And then I have to hit play, and as soon as I hit play, move the fader in the position I want to start writing the new automation for. And it has to be really close together, like play, move, that quick, because you've got to get control of the fader before it starts reading the yellow dots, the little nodes, and starts being taken over, and then you can't get control of it. So watch, you hit play and move the fader immediately. So play, move, down, up, let go. Yeah. That's where I let go, and it wrote this line up to the next node and started reading again. Not very well done. Let me zoom in a bit. Try that again. So I'll take it to that same position where I want to start writing from here. Oop. I want to continue that line further down here, then back up here, and then let it continue and keep this last bit. Right, so here we go. Remember, play and move as fast as possible. So down, up, let go, and look at that huge great gap where I let go, and then it took this amount of time to pick up reading again. It's scrappy, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's just bloody awful. To be honest, Logic's terrible for this. Well, there's not a huge amount you can do about that, to be honest. There just isn't. I mean, you can try all you want, but I mean, honestly, rewriting this, try it again. Here we go. Down, up, let go. Look at this. What's all this about? It's just rubbish. So, probably the best thing to do is just write the whole damn lot again. Ready? So here we go. Down, up, and let go. You know, but you know what? You can see what's going on here, can't you? It's terrible for doing that. So it isn't great because you can't get control of the fader once it's reading those yellow nodes, and there's no way in Logic to assign the snap or the quantize for those yellow nodes. You can't say, I don't want them that close together. I just want them at 64ths or something like that. You know, so there's just a dot every so often is enough. That's enough. You can't do that. You can thin out this data a little because there's a function in track called track automation delete redundant nodes, which would be some nodes that just aren't part of, they're not going to get used due to their position in proximity, say, to one of the other nodes. So what I tend to do is this: I go to Logic Pro, Preferences, Key Commands. I bring up my key commands and I type in the search box nodes, and you find this: delete redundant nodes. Learn by key label, press that, and press the little double S key below escape on your Apple keyboard. Yeah, the top right, the top left. You've got the escape key, and below it there's a little key with a double S sort of overlapped, and a little plus and minus key. Press that key. There you go, it's learned it, the double S. Now undo this, or delatch the learn by key label. So I've assigned this delete redundant nodes to the S key, which isn't assigned to any other function. Okay, so now watch this controller data when I hit that S key on the keyboard. Right, you'll see it thin out a bit. Ready? Yeah, not much here. That's it. But if you then zoom in and look at the data, I mean, look how scrappy it is. I mean, like, you get these kind of things. What the hell's this? This node dropped down here, lower than all the others. Look at it. I mean, see what I mean? If you could set the quantize of this so it was 64ths or something, you wouldn't get this kind of drivel. But there's nothing you can do. You can't. I'll press the double S key again. See what it did? It just moved one little node a tiny bit. But it doesn't really do anything, does it? Let me zoom into this bit. Press that double S key. Nah. See, it won't thin it out any more than that. Whoops. And there's no way to set the snap. Trust me, there isn't. You cannot set the snap for this automation data, which is hopeless. So then you've got to go in with, you've got to zoom in, and you've got to tidy it up probably, which is a waste of time. I mean, like this little bump here, I don't want that. Then you've got that whole thing where the nodes are sticky and Logic won't let them go. You've got to drag them a bit to get them to release. You know, it's just abysmal. So writing is a bit of a flop, to be honest. It's okay for doing things, but it's when you try to overwrite that you get into problems. So honestly, my advice is, like, if you wrote this and you went, oh, you know what, I don't like it, I'd just back up before it and write the bloody thing again in touch. Right, here we go, let's try again. Up, down, up, down. But that didn't work very well because it was still reading in touch, so it left that node in. So I'll tell you what, let me try it in latch, which will override. I don't have to be constantly moving the mouse to make it overwrite nodes that it approaches and overlaps, plays over. Right, here we go. Up, down, up, down, let go. You know, you'd be best doing it again. I'll try that again, it wasn't very good. So, down, up, down, up, down. Yeah, you know, it's best to just do the damn thing again. Alright, now if you want to get rid of these controllers, you just press escape, which brings up your tool menu, and look, escape and Q is the automation select tool, and escape and W is the automation curve tool. So if I just do escape Q, look, I've got my automation select tool, then I can draw a box around all that and delete it. Go back to my main mouse tool, the arrow, click that node to get rid of it, the very first node. Now I've got no automation. Alright, so that's what latch does, and touch, and write. And if you want to just read, you put it into read, like that, or off. But I wouldn't use write. I just wouldn't bother with it. Just be careful. If you leave it in touch, I mean, just make sure you got your track automation off, because if you've written some controller data and you leave it in touch and you leave the track automation on, and then you think, oh, that's a bit high, that. If you move a fader, it'll start writing automation data. So just don't leave it in automation record mode. If you've finished recording a track, automation data for that track, just knock it to off, either using your mouse there or there. Just turn it off, or to read. All right. Okay. If you want to, you can always set your preferences to after you've written, it will jump to read, but there's no point doing that. I'd leave it on that touch. And remember, you must tick the things that you want to write, because only plugins by default is ticked. Okay, so let's look at controlling a synth, which can be a little bit more successful, to be honest, but still you encounter the same problems, right? So let's look at that next.